Greetings guys, I hope you're all doing well. As you may have seen, I've turned off the comments on any of the videos that are regards the law and self-defense. I did put out a video about that, just commenting saying I was going to edit the comments, but I got hit by, trolls just sort of telling me, oh, I'm leaving, and bemoaning the channel, announcing their departure and all this kind of stuff. I just don't have time in my day for that sort of thing. I'm not here for a sort of soap opera drama. So, if adults can't behave like adults, it's only a small percentage. But I just thought, you know what, I'll just turn the comments off. I'm really sorry for the people that want to leave the comments. We'll try, if we can filter out those few idiots, that then we'll get comments back on at a later date. I'll see how it goes. So I want to do another video on that same subject because a few people asked about things like spray. A lot of people mention pepper spray, of course, which we can't have in the UK and a lot of other European countries as well. That's deemed a Section 5 weapon. So whatever you do, guys, do not run around with pepper sprays in your pocket or in your house, even if you've managed to buy them from some dodgy internet site and that was selling to the UK. There are plenty of countries that will happily sell you stuff and they have no concept of the UK law. So even though you've managed to get it and customs didn't pick it up, that doesn't mean it's legal. You are in possession of a Section 5 weapon, which is a serious offence in the UK, and you will very likely be charged if it is found. So where does that leave us? Well, a lot of people have asked about these legal marker sprays that are on sale. I've seen them on Amazon, I've seen them on eBay, and they are various different sprays that are designed to leave some sort of semi-permanent mark on a attacker, for example. So they are either a dye or there's some kind of invisible marker that could be picked up with the use of a pen, maybe a UV pen or something like that. And they are all designed to stay on the attacker for several days after the attack, and therefore make it easier for the police to kind of find this person or kind of scare the person off, because obviously if you pull out a marker spray, that may give someone second thoughts as to whether they want to attack you if they're going to be marked out and they're going to have a job getting it off them. That's where I kind of start to have doubts, because if someone's already made the choice to attack you, they're obviously, very criminally minded, or they're not in a sound state of mind. And I don't actually believe that most of those people will give a damn if you're going to spray them with a marker spray or not. So I don't see that as being a very good means of self-defense, if you like. I don't think it's going to thwart an attack. They've made that decision already. So they're going to attack you. All it's really doing is providing maybe some sort of evidence that that was indeed the person who attacked you to the police. If that's the case, it hasn't really saved you. I don't frankly care what happens after I've been attacked. I just don't want to be attacked in the first place. If someone tries to attack me, I want to be able to thwart that attack so I don't get too badly damaged. The idea that someone's going to badly damage me or kill me and I've got some sort of cold comfort in the fact that they're going to receive some justice later on down the line is neither here nor there to me. I don't care about that. And the same goes with my family. The thought that one of my loved ones might be attacked, but oh, never mind, because in a couple of months' time they're going to face a criminal prosecution. That is cold comfort to me. I just don't want them to be attacked in the first place, or I want to prevent any sort of severity of attack as much as I possibly can. I want to minimize the damage from that attack. So I don't believe those things are useful to actually stop you being hurt. So that's number one. Number two, they are a legal grey area. So they're, as far as I'm aware, I've read a couple of statements made by police forces in the UK about these things, because they're obviously getting asked by members of the public, can they be used? And the police are on record saying that thus far, they are not aware of any court cases that make a ruling one way or the other on these marker sprays. And the problem is, if you carry one of these things, it has no other use. You're obviously not just carrying it about your person for, any other use than to use against a possible attacker. Now, if one of these sprays were to damage that attacker in any way, you're basically getting into the offensive weapon situation, that you're carrying around an item that is specifically designed to use in a sort of combative manner, and it's damaged someone else. So that may leave you liable for some sort of prosecution, and it may make it very hard to suggest that you have then acted in self-defense. And how would they injure someone? Well, that so far is unknown. The companies that make them say that they won't injure people, but unfortunately, there is always a chance. You can't tell exactly how people are going to react to different substances. You know, you could get 5,000 people to eat garlic, and a couple of those people might have a severe reaction to eating garlic. We all see garlic as a very safe food group, you know, where no one's kind of worrying about that, but there will always be some people that have an adverse reaction to it. And this stuff might end up in people's eyes. So we really have no concept, you know, on how many people per 1,000 would have some sort of terrible reaction to some of these substances. And also there's no sort of homogeneous substance that's being sold. So police pepper spray, for example, has been tested very robustly, and it's actually a synthetic version of pepper spray that's used in the UK. There's a lot of testing been done on that to ascertain exactly how safe it is, how much of that solution should be contained in the device, and, you know, the risk factors surrounding that. There's a lot of work gone into that. In the realm of these marker sprays, there's multiple different companies all selling their own kind of solution to this issue. And there is no gold standard for the ingredients in those things, so they all may differ slightly. So really you're leaving yourself open there, that if you were to spray one of those things on someone and it had a bad reaction on their skin, or it had a bad reaction in their eyes, worst case scenario, and blinded them, or it went into their mouth and they had some sort of allergy to one of the substances in it and their throat closed up and they couldn't breathe properly, there is an issue. There's also an issue if you spray that stuff and it damages their clothing. You know, if you're basically throwing ink all over someone's expensive white shirt, there's a criminal damage situation there as well. And I know a lot of people are going to be saying, oh, well, they're attacking, you know, they should get whatever comes to them. Ethically speaking, you could be right, but we're talking about the law here, and the law sometimes doesn't care about, you know, who's ethically right or wrong. Both parties may be charged. The attacker may be charged for attacking you, and you may be charged for criminal damage against him or an assault against him. Both things could happen at once in law. It doesn't necessarily mean that because one guy attacked first that the other one isn't going to get charged with anything. That isn't how it works. So I personally wouldn't use those things. I don't think they're effective, and I'm concerned about the kind of grey area legality surrounding them, and I don't know the companies that produce them well enough to have full trust that they've done robust testing to ascertain if those are very, very safe to use. And then someone went on to ask about lights as well. You know, if you carry a very high power flashlight with a strobe on it, for example, and I've reviewed a few on here, you know, a lot of the lights I've used for EDC have a strobe function, and that function is often mooted as some sort of dazzling device, you know, in a tactical situation, that you would use that against people if you were conducting like a CQB or something like that, and that would dazzle any enemy combatants and make it hard for them to target you, and you would be able to target them first. That's the tactical concept behind it. And people have said, well, what if I carried a flashlight in the UK and then I were to dazzle someone with that, and, you know, would that be an acceptable thing to do? I would say on the whole, you know, it's probably not a bad idea to have a strong and powerful light to shine at someone in that situation. But if I were to do that, I wouldn't be doing it with the sort of sole intention of dazzling them. I would be pulling out a light to light up the situation. Yes, it's a very powerful light. Hopefully that's going to give me an advantage that I can see better than the person who's coming at me. But that's going to allow me to enact a sort of secondary defensive measure that if someone's running at me, just shining a light at them isn't going to be an effective means of deterrent. I'm going to have to then make some sort of physical gesture to actually prevent them from attacking me. So I might shine a light and then make a preemptive strike, for example, if my life was in danger. That's the kind of thing I would use a torch for. I wouldn't just use it as a dazzling device and sort of try and dazzle the attacker away, because again, these people are probably either serious criminals, or they're not mentally well, or they may be high on drugs. Just shining a light at them isn't going to make them sort of turn around 180 degrees and run in the opposite direction. And be aware that whatever you do, including shining a light at someone, could have ramifications on you. It's a very, very nuanced and complex issue. There are no simple answers in any of this. No one, no solicitor is going to say you should pull out a light and that is absolutely the legally acceptable thing to do, because each thing is a different context. It would totally depend on what was going on. If you were, walking along a cliff edge and someone ran up to you and you pulled out a thing and dazzled them and they fell off the side of the cliff and died, that's a totally different context to being in a darkened car garage and you're using a light to kind of illuminate your way, and someone runs at you and you turn the light on them and suddenly try to defend yourself. Two very different situations. So it's impossible to give a 100% answer on any of these things. There is no one thing that's going to be 100% acceptable in every single context. The only advice I can give that is acceptable is that if you feel your life is in danger, you can take reasonable measures to protect yourself. And that is open-ended, and people have complained about that and say, well, what does that mean? That is exactly why that exists, because each situation is very different. So it could mean many different things in many different situations. That could mean anything from shouting at someone right through to, throwing them out the window. It all depends on the situation you're in and the severity of what's going on. If a burglar puts his hand through my window, it's probably not acceptable for me to chop his hand off with a machete. If 5 masked men break into my house and they're trying to duct tape me to a chair, maybe that would be acceptable. That you have to look at these things in context, and it's all about what comes to hand whilst you're in fear of your life. So again, I'll reiterate, if I was sat at home and I'm sat there clutching a machete at all times saying to the police, oh, I have this for self-defense, that's going to go really badly for me, because I'm preempting something that's going to happen and I'm carrying a weapon for use as a weapon. If I'm sat at home and I happen to have a load of ornaments on the wall and all these guys rush into my house and try and kidnap me, and I use one of those ornaments in the heat of the moment, that is a totally different scenario. And I'm in fear of my life. I've grabbed what comes to hand. So I hope everyone understands that. But there is, in any of this, no one thing that anyone can tell you that is completely acceptable or completely unacceptable. Now, obviously, this is not legal advice. If you need legal advice in any of these matters, go and hire a good solicitor. Go and do your research before you get involved in this. There's plenty of legislation online to read if you're interested in self-defense. Everyone should take an interest in that, because, that is part of being a human, that we should all take responsibility for our own safety. No one else is going to do that for you. The police are not on every street corner monitoring everything that everyone does. They will come, they are a reactive organisation, especially now their numbers have been massively cut. So the best you can hope for, realistically, is that when you get attacked, they will turn up after the fact and try and catch the guy that did it and do something about him. But they are very unlikely to be there whilst you're being attacked. And I've seen many, many, many attacks occur, probably, hundreds and hundreds. And in all those attacks, I never saw a policeman magically appear in the middle of it. Sometimes if the attacks were prolonged, a big fight with multiple people in, the police would eventually get there and be able to split that up. But at that time, many people had been injured. So it was already too late to save a lot of people from getting hurt. Guys, I hope that helps shed a little bit of light on the matter, excuse the pun. And that should give you some information there that you can go off, do some research and look at keeping yourselves as safe as possible. Thanks for watching. Take care. Goodbye.